All right, folks. My name is Cedric Bell, and this is my wife, Nicole Bell. We are the founders of the Hope and Healing Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Wellness. Our mission is to decrease suicidal deaths among youths and veterans among the nation, but starting in Florida. We have several services that we want to implement in the future. We're going to be talking about that. I'm going to bring it back to Nicole.
All right, so we'll go and allow everybody to introduce themselves. We'll start off with you, Miss Linda. Let's see, every time I click your button, it just wants to mess up. So I think you have your own clicker, so go ahead.
Hi, I'm Linda Crea. I'm from Fort Pierce, and I've been here only 3 years, and I love Florida, and I'm looking forward to being a part of this group. I'm going to be someone that answers the phone calls, so I'm delighted to be the first line that they're going to talk to.
Yes.
All
We
right.
are excited to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda,
Thank you,
for
Linda.
volunteering for that.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to go to Miss Renee.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, hi, Renee Crabb. I am in education. I serve as an assistant principal at a public school in Maryland. I'm excited to be a part of this, as I said before, and I'll be sharing my expertise and how what needs to happen in education to support students the youth that are struggling
Yes.
with suicide ideations.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, Renee.
All right, Miss Rachel. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I'm trying not to look at my phone.
No problem.
I work within the mental health space, and I particularly love working with veterans, and that's kind of how I found you online, Nicole, and then talked to Cedric. So I'm really excited to be here and learn more.
Awesome. Thank you for joining
Thank you for having
us. Nice to virtually meet you.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to move into our topic, and Miss Cristina will be introducing you. So you get your special introduction. So go ahead, Cedric.
Yeah, tonight, folks, we're going to be talking about bipolar disorders. Okay. Years ago, it was, I believe, defined as manic depressive disorder. I've been around long enough, so I know when that changed. Okay, so it's been a while. But one of the severity of the disorders that's in the DSM-V that recently has been diagnosed severely with people suffering through severe depression and the ups and downs of depression and anxiety. So tonight we have a very good guest speaker who's going to be talking about her personal battles with bipolar and how she's been able to overcome this and kind of live with it. Okay, this is a very serious disorder, folks. It's been a lot of people have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Now they have actually made several levels of bipolar disorder, 1, 2, and I believe there's a 3 now. Okay, so with further ado, I want to bring it back to Nicole, and she's going to introduce our guest speaker.
All right. So our guest speaker today is Miss Cristina Gambino. She is a certified life coach that is specializing in sexual, intuitive, and mindset coaching. Christina dedicates herself to holding a space for others to explore the connection between internal and external worlds as catalysts for personal growth. She demonstrates this through her podcast, social media, and speaking engagements. You can find Christina on her Facebook or Instagram. She also has her podcast that is located, I believe, well, she'll tell you where it's located because I just forgot, I'm sorry. But it is called the Gambino Mindset. But if you go on any of the social medias, you will be able to find her and her mission to help individuals. So I would like to give the floor to you, Miss Cristina, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Christina. How are you?
Thank you so much. Oh, excuse me. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. When we're talking about bipolar, I mean, it's a, it's a gift to want to explain how you've been overcoming it. And we appreciate your time tonight. Well, thank you for allowing us to come into your life and to allow us to experience and what you've been going through with the bipolar disorder. So tell me when you was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and since then, what has been going on in your life and how you've been fighting the battle?
So I was probably first diagnosed early 20s, about 10, 12 years ago. But before I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I was diagnosed with depression. I was diagnosed with ADHD. I was then diagnosed with anxiety. So I was just medicating based off of other diagnoses that really weren't mine until I was finally diagnosed as bipolar and kind of started this journey of trying to find the right medication throughout the years to properly like balance me out.
Thing with medications when it talks about bipolar and the other diagnoses, you was diagnosed with depression, severe depression, so you went on to those levels of diagnoses, and they eventually diagnosed you with bipolar. How did you feel at the time? I know bipolar is one of the negative labels that everybody has. How did you feel about that diagnosis?
I wasn't very accepting of it. I didn't want to take my medication. At the time, I was having a manic episode, and the way I looked at it to just basically rationalize all the things I was doing to not be bipolar was, oh, I'm in my early 20s. I'm supposed to drink a lot. I'm supposed to have a lot of casual sex. I'm supposed to spend my money, irrationally. I'm young. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm partying. I'm going to figure it out when I get older. But I wasn't accepting of it. I probably didn't start taking my medications properly for a good 3 years. Consistently and without, using other substances or self-medicating.
Well, when we talk about bipolar, everybody has their own, I would say, distinct definition, personal definition of bipolar. What does bipolar mean to you? Can you define it, what it means to you? What is it? How has it been affecting you as far as emotions?
I can best describe it as having two different sides of yourself, because, the manic side of you is the fun, exciting, outgoing, passionate side. So, people tend to then tell you you're too much, and then you back up and you start being on the depressive side and you're not enough. So it's kind of basically like two halves of you are at constant struggle, at war with yourselves, trying to find the proper balance. Is the best way like I can describe it. It's just a rage of emotion, like a big range of emotions that just come on for no reason. Like for no reason. Nothing really makes sense. You don't know, you don't understand it. You don't know why you feel the way you feel. You, more importantly, don't know how to react to those feelings. And I've come to find, over the years, I've never found a way up until recently to soothe and cope other than using medication, because I've never been taught.
Okay.
So that was a big change for me as well.
All right. So when you're talking about medications, okay, I've had several clients with bipolar disorder, and the first thing I tell them is not to drink alcohol, don't do drugs, okay, because it's going to limit how the medication functions within your system, okay, especially when it comes to your mental state, okay. It's not going to be as good for you. So could you give us some type of experience that you've had with maybe mixing the two? Okay, I don't know if you had any type of experiences with drug, alcohol abuse, or whatever have you. Tell us your experiences with any of that.
Um, well, I started abusing drugs probably when I was about 15. I would say I had always been a angry child growing up. I would have a range of emotions. I would act out. I was very outspoken. I would say I was very much the black sheep of the family. I never really fit in. And by the end of, by the time I was 17 or 18, I really didn't care much about what anyone else thought of me. It was pretty much I'm awesome and there's something wrong with everybody else. So that was somewhat of a struggle, growing up. But going into my older years, I adapted that, I'm awesome and there's something wrong with everyone else and I'm just the black sheep. So I neglected to see me having a mental illness, and very much in my family, just like it is now everywhere, there is a stigma and there is shame around it. And it wasn't something, even now, it's not something my family particularly understands or likes to talk about or likes to be associated with me per se, because I'm bipolar. Or they'll make excuses for me. Oh, Christina's just bipolar. That's, and it's kind of insulting.
Yeah. Oh, I understand it. Now, so you didn't really take your medicine appropriately for the first 3 years.
No.
Okay.
I used and, made my self-medicating acceptable. Come to find out, a lot of the things I was self-medicating with ended up being medications I was actually being prescribed to. Go figure. Your body kind of just knows what it, your body you have anxiety and you're like, oh, is that what that's for? I can take that. It was easier for me to associate myself as a drug addict than it was to be with mental illness. It just, so it wasn't until I accepted, my mental illness. And to be honest, that probably wasn't until about a year ago, to where I fully accepted it and said, forget the stigma and what everyone says, I don't really care. And just kind of putting my voice out there, and started making a statement about it. But, I was with, my spouse for 10 years, and I don't even feel like he understood. I feel like, my mother grew up with me. She doesn't understand. I have a sister. She doesn't understand, and it's easier for them to identify me as an addict. And now that I have a disorder, it's like, oh, great. Now, my mom doesn't have to blame herself in a sense. I was already broken, so it wasn't like she broke me.
So biologically, is there anybody in your family has been diagnosed with any type of mental health disorders or anything like that?
Yes, actually, my older half sister ended up being diagnosed later on in her life with bipolar disorder. So it definitely is something that comes from my dad's side. My sister was in the military. She suffers from PTSD.
Okay.
So
there is some type of maybe correlation to your bipolar to the maybe family. What would you call that? Genetics.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I experienced trauma growing up as well. So, I was angry before this happened, but, that's really when the drug use started. That's when I really started trying to numb my feelings. And then with that, and with me not knowing I have a mental health condition, that's kind of a hard way to grow up as a teen.
Yeah.
And really not really knowing where to go, not really having an outlet. Because again, I think my mother asked me when I was 14, I was probably acting out and she asked me to go see somebody, but it was never coming from like a place of love or concern. It was always coming from a place of, there's something wrong with you and you need to go get fixed, and I didn't want anything to be wrong with me. And at that time, I was starting to feel like nobody wanted me and nobody liked me anyway, that I really didn't care. So I wasn't going to go fix myself. So it wasn't until I accepted it, and a lot of that happens because the man I was with, his ex-wife was bipolar and she ended up committing suicide. So he ended up helping me through a lot of things and helping me see the importance of my medication because of what he had been through. And once I had my daughter, she's 6.5, I started going to Narcotics Anonymous and like really taking my mental health seriously and really starting the medication. But that alone is rough because how much your hormones change while you're pregnant. So everything that works before you have the baby doesn't work after you have the baby. And then it's a big struggle on trying to play around with what medication works.
Yep.
So, doing that twice now, I have 2 children. My son is 2. That was a big struggle as well. But I know now what I need to do. I know I can't take the medications while I'm pregnant. I know I can't breastfeed because I need to get on my medications. I can't not take them. I've tried. I know my body. I know myself. I know what I need. And I need to just be patient and listen to my body.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about the stigma, you said stigma a couple of times and how people started to judge you, okay, especially your family and so forth. There's the stigma of mental health, and then when you get labeled with a disorder, I mean, it's very depressive, okay? How did you deal with that? I see that your family has kind of shunned you, said that you have issues, you have problems. But this is a real serious disorder. So how were you able to accept it and to actually move on?
I really learned to stop caring what other people think. And that kind of came with learning how to self-love, because at the same time, I was also looking for happiness outside of myself, because I never knew, other than using narcotics, using drugs, I didn't know how to create happiness. Nothing, no therapist ever told me how to do anything to, be happy when I'm having a bad day. So I started doing different things to cultivate that, self-acceptance, not caring what people think, loving myself, with starting with self-love. I knew I had to find my own happiness within me. So I stopped caring about what other people thought, because I then understood that I didn't get my happiness from them and it's not up to them accepting me. And I was already used to everyone not accepting me anyway. So I might as well tell everybody, my truth, because no one accepts me anyway by me not telling anybody.
Yeah.
So you kind of owned it. You owned it.
Yeah.
And did you have to educate yourself? Because I mean, most of my clients, they come when they talk about the diagnosis that they have, and the primary thing I tell everybody is to educate yourself on your diagnosis. Okay.
I absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime, I was actually very interested in what it was I was diagnosed with. So I always did a lot of reading, a lot of Google searches, a lot of medication searches. I always want to know what I'm taking. I do read a lot of books about bipolar disorder. So I do keep myself educated, to understand what I'm going through. But at the same time, because people were using my diagnosis as an excuse for me to be me, I could tell at times when I would have a bad day, I would be like, oh, I'm bipolar. Remember? Like, remember when you say, like, you know, you remember when you want to throw in my face that I'm bipolar? Well, I'm having a bad day today, so I'm bipolar, you know? So it kind of like turned into something like that.
Where are you at now? With that part of it?
Well, I've learned a lot of through self-love, I learned a lot of self-acceptance, which has led me to speak my truth. Okay. So I don't allow being bipolar to like define who I am. It's something I have, you know, it's something I'm challenged with. It's something I need to be educated about and open my eyes about and be aware of, you know, my current circumstances and my stressors and my anxiety level, and make sure I don't, you know, overwork. There's been times I've had episodes or severe panic attacks, you know, at work. And I can see now, by being a little more open and by recognizing my body and appreciating myself, it may not have escalated to those events. But that comes with growth and time, you know, and that really comes with me accepting it as well, because I got to a point where I opened up with my my job about it, and I ended up getting fired, and I really truly believe it was because of my disorder. Once I opened up about it, they were very against it. I had a manic episode while I was at work. It was something I then had to disclose because, you know, I had an episode.
Sure.
And I had to, you know, take some time off. But yeah, like the stigma is definitely there. You know, I'm happy that it happened. It led me on this path to really owning it, you know, and it led me on this path to life coaching and finding different mindset shifts to change my life. You know, I do believe everything happens for a reason. You know, I've gone through a lot of things during manic phases of my life that aren't ideal, that would be, you know, very traumatic to some other people, that somehow I feel like I've made it through. But I feel like I needed to go through those things in order to stand here and share my story and hopefully be a voice for someone else who can't be a voice for themselves. And like learn that it is important to educate yourself. And it is important to educate yourself young, because, for example, like I said, my daughter's 6, you know, I see she has like some things going on within her. She doesn't know how to express herself. She doesn't want to talk to me. So we're going to get a talking doctor, and she's going to go and she's going to talk and learn how to express herself. And she loves it. She loves it. Excellent. But, you know, no one ever taught me how to do those things. No one ever taught me it was okay to speak up if something felt uncomfortable, if something didn't feel right. You know, no one told me that if I needed to take medication or something, like, you know, that they were going to love me through it. That's not how it went. You know, it was completely opposite. So I treat my children differently in that aspect, because I know it is generic, and I know it's a possibility that it could be passed down to my children. So I try to leave that open level of like communication. You know, they did diagnose her with anxiety. You know, hey, whatever, you know, if she needs some coping mechanisms and she needs to, you know, she tells me she gets really angry sometimes, but I'm happy she can express that. And she tells me she wants squishies. She wants to squish things. Perfect.
That's good.
You know,
good.
But no one's, you know, I don't think anyone ever taught me that throughout any part of my life.
So you're changing not only from what I'm seeing that you're trying to do, some of your podcasts and what you write and what you're representing for a person, just, you know, of not just of an individual with bipolar, that you're trying to change that stigma. You've tried to change it with yourself. You're trying to be a voice for others, but you're also not only just that, but you're changing generational patterns in your family. You're breaking it, like by just the change that you've done in yourself. You're breaking these patterns with it already. You know, you've broke it by what you've done with yourself, but now you're teaching your children these different patterns that then you've taught, that you were taught, and that probably your parents were taught, and so forth. So you've already broken patterns within your family, and not that, you have already reached other people through life coaching and through what you've been doing on the internet, being able to reach many people of what you've done. And there's one of the little ones right there.
Yeah.
Hey, who's that?
This is Luciano.
Luciano, what's up, buddy?
Hello.
Hello. So let me ask you, Christina, that now since you're still in the fight, you know, you have kind of reached the mountaintop and you're looking over now. Okay, what can you tell people that you've done specifically? Okay, and let me ask you this before I get there. Um, in bipolar, when we say there's highs and there's lows, okay, and let's talk about that for a minute, because we're talking about manic depressive disorders, okay, mania, okay. And when I kind of explain to everybody, is like when you have an outburst, okay, most of the time you have an anger outburst, okay. So tell me what your mania was, okay? Explain the behaviors of your mania and how high did it get?
My mania, I definitely had angry outbursts for sure, but I definitely displayed it in a very promiscuous way. I definitely, in a very sexual way, definitely, I wouldn't go to work without any concern on how I was going to pay my rent, how I was going to pay my bills. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I mean, I ended up getting evicted and I ended up being homeless. You know, that's what happens. But during that time, I thought everything's going to be fine. Everything's perfect. I'm untouchable. You know, everything's great. So that would be the extent of it. What?
He wants to see the TV.
I know. Oh, you want to eat? Yeah. All right, hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go get.
Give mommy a minute, man.
Oh, there he goes. But that was definitely like the height of it. I ended up working as an adult entertainer. I ended up escorting. I ended up being very free with myself and my body. I didn't know how to set boundaries or what boundaries even were. And because I had sexual trauma in the past, I kind of felt that kind of led me on that path. Because I never got to establish what sex was for myself, you know, or have that boundary. Like, you know, it wasn't something I gave, it was something that was taken. So I just kind of kept giving it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But definitely at the height of, I mean, I had to have been, it was right before I was diagnosed, you know, and I ended up running away to Miami from Naples. And I ended up becoming homeless and finding a pimp and got into a really bad situation and running away. And, you know, I know all of those choices were clearly bipolar mania, living by like the seat of my pants, like impulsive actions and decisions, because I didn't think there was a consequence to anything. You don't really have that sense. I'm not typically depressive. I was more depressive as a teen, trying to probably my hormones and going through different things and, you know, the trauma, I ended up being depressive and I would end up self-harming. But no one's, you know, everyone saw that as me being depressed, not as being bipolar. It wasn't until those manic acts that really diagnosed me.
So when you talk about depression, and you know that's part of the disorder also, were you ever suicidal? You said self-harm, and self-harm
Um,
to me is not suicidal. Have you ever been to that point, that low?
I have definitely before this last bout of like changing my life, I started trying to do different things to like start trying to do journaling, started trying to do different things in my life. And I found myself writing down that I wanted to take my life. And I don't even know where that thought came from. Clearly, it comes from your subconscious. Like you just, you know, I wasn't in the best places. I wasn't feeling the greatest about myself. I wasn't feeling the greatest about life. You know, I was facing all the shame and the stigma at work. My relationship wasn't good. I just had all the reasons. My medication definitely wasn't right. And I remember writing that down and clearly looking at it and crossing it out of my journal. Like it upset me to even think that that was a thought, that I like rejected it. And that's when I started to decide like I was changing my life and I was going to start doing things differently. And I started doing different mindset exercises in order to shift my happiness, because I finally understood at that point that it doesn't matter how many therapists I go to, no one's going to give me what it is I need. You know, like no one's like, same thing with me trying to find happiness from outside of me. No one's going to give me what I need except myself. Like I need to find what works for me and shift my mindset and change it for myself.
Wow, I commend you on that. I really do. And when you're talking about that mind shifting, okay, very, very important when you're talking about bipolar disorder. Okay, we call it, you know, thought processing or thought stopping, or anything with the changing of your mind frame. Okay, so right now you're dealing with your disorder in an appropriate way. You know more about it. Okay, you have been functioning. Okay, much better. So, can you give the group and others that may see this some personal things that you do to for that self-control? Okay, when you see yourself, because even though you're taking medication, even though you have everything going on, you still have the disorder. Okay, and it
Right.
still may get out of whack sometimes. How do you draw yourself back now, and what can you give our viewers and everybody else certain techniques that you utilize yourself to bring yourself back into self-maintenance?
Well, I started working on my mindset by simply practicing gratitude. Just simple practicing gratitude, simple shouting out, you know, basically in my car with my daughter, we would just say 3 things we're grateful for every single day, you know, because after 21 days, the brain tells you everything is wonderful. Like it looks at everything from a different perspective. So I realized that, and that's what I started doing. So I try to find the beauty in everything, because there is, but that is something I never really, you know, I never did. And it's something so simple. Um, I simply do, like I said, like self-acceptance, and um, I try to do something that like scares me every so often to like kind of remind me who I am, and to give myself that gratitude and self-acceptance of myself to be able to like speak my truth. I also do Tony Robbins priming exercise. That's something that helped me a lot. It's something that's on YouTube. It's simply about like being present with yourself and your body and being grateful and thankful for like the little things as simple as your breath. I do a lot of meditation. I do EFT tapping, which has really helped me shift my energy. So when I do feel like myself is getting at a boiling point, or I feel a sense of being uneasy, I do EFT tapping, mostly around confidence, because by me embodying my confidence, it gives me the ability to speak my truth confidently. So I like to do a lot of that. I do a lot of grounding exercises. I started working, doing chakra healing, which I absolutely love. But those are really the things I do. I even bought, there's a self-care workbook on Amazon that I bought that I work through. And it's something I actually recommend that my clients go through as well. And I go through with them because I don't think people realize how important it is to self-love. Or like, I've gone through, my next podcast is going to be on the 5 love languages and how they represent to like loving yourself, because no one, everyone talks about how you should love others, but no one really talks about how you should love yourself. And it wasn't until I found the love for myself did I even think I was worthy enough to make these shifts, because I didn't think I was worthy enough of the happiness. But I had to get through like mindset blocks and limiting beliefs and really work on daily affirmations, the basics, all the basics.
Your perception, and your perception is your reality, and we live in that, and it can be very difficult. It sounds easy, like, oh, just change the way you think. It sounds easy, but it's a very difficult thing to do. But you have mastered that, continuously mastering it, because it's something that you have to do daily. With anybody, you have to do that daily, but you've shown the power of that. You've shown the power of what it is to shift your mindset, and to the small things that you have done daily of how they have built up to be something so huge, to be able to stabilize you, give you a quality of life. And so I think you're living in your truth, because you actually believe your truth now and you see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never felt better. I now am I definitely take more value in who I work with professionally, like in the medical field for my disorder. Whereas before I didn't really care too much. I didn't really like take care of who I worked with as a therapist, which is probably why I went through so many, so I'm with someone now who I've been working with consistently, who I really like working with. My psychiatrist is great. We've done a lot of work on my medications. Yes, baby. But we've done a lot of work on my medications to get everything right. Baby. He wants the tablet. Here,
and that's good. I think to get your, as you were just stating, your medication proper, that's a huge thing, because oftentimes a lot of individuals will say like, oh, let me just take this one medication, and then that medication doesn't work, and you'll get unmotivated to continue moving forward and continue trying to do try more medication. However, different medications are work for different individuals, and different combinations are going to work for different individuals. So that also in itself has to be something to be motivated for, and for you to be able to keep your motivation to get to that point too.
Yeah, and I like also, Christina, when you're talking about alternative ways.
Yeah.
Okay, and Linda, unmute yourself. I'm bringing you in on this one. The alternative ways that you're seeking out, different ways to kind of control yourself, one, okay, minimize your stress, your anxiety, and so forth. Linda specializes in alternative medicine and meditation and so forth. So, Linda, what do you say about what Christina is doing and the value of utilizing like your services, the meditation and the nutritionist and all that? How does that play a part in handling disorders and whatnot?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it all begins with knowing you need help, right? Because she wrote down the words, the precious words of doom, right? The worst thing, and you couldn't even stand it. So that was your little awakening there that you wrote down. And you said, oh, no, no, I don't want that. Why did I write that? And then that was your grand awakening. That was your gift, right? So then you found your spiritual side, the side that only matters what's inside of you, your precious soul, where no one else thinks of you that way. They think of themselves that way, but we have to think of ourselves that way. So it all begins with coming inside, the meditative space, the quietness, the love reigning through us. And once we can feel that, just like you're doing, Christina, you are spreading that everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't love others unless you love yourself. I had to find that too. I went through hell for a few years. So I wasn't diagnosed with anything, but I get the stigma. But you know what? If we need to take something to make us feel better, because the medical community is valuable, we're all going to need that inoculation pretty soon, and we're going to be grateful, most of us. So the medical community is so necessary. But it does. The spiritual side of us and the chakra clearing is so amazing. It makes us feel great.
It does. It does.
So good for you, girl. Good for you.
That's right. And Christina, I like you exploring different things. And we utilize the holistic philosophy when we're doing mental health treatment. Me and Nicole. We just don't want to, open the book of psychology and, or the DSM-V, do a diagnosis, give you some homework and follow all these protocols. We like to look at your entire life, okay? How is your physical health, okay? How is your environmental health at the house, relationships, and so forth, okay? How about your workplace, okay? So all of these things that encompass your life are your stressors and whatever have you, okay? So we try to find out what's actually bothering you, what's upsetting you, what's getting you depressed, what's giving you anxiety. Even though if you just come for us for one disorder, it seems like if somebody comes in for manic depressive, you can have a variety of different secondary diagnoses, okay? So we kind of look at everybody as having everything, and we want to encapsulate our holistic approach in by dealing with everything. So, if you're unemployed, you're depressed. You have to be depressed if you're unemployed, okay? If you're homeless, you're depressed. All these things, for years, just like you said, you was being misdiagnosed. Then finally, somebody who was probably a better psychiatrist, okay, gave you that diagnosis. Then you started on your strive to better yourself, and you've done amazing. Okay, you've done amazing work. Okay, and then when you took control of your disorder, okay, many people can't. And when I'm saying that you took control of yourself, everybody depends on the therapist, the psychiatrist, the counselor to deal with my life, to handle my life for me. Okay, and I tell all my clients, okay, it's about you. Okay, you have to do this. You have to bring yourself out of the funk. Okay, so by mixing, that Western medicine, I call it, okay, with like a Easternized type of philosophy, okay, Buddhism, whatever you want to call it, okay, meditation, that is that holistic therapeutic standpoint that we come from, okay, and it's good that you utilizing that because you need it, okay. We need to have a physical body, okay, that can first metabolize that medication they give us, okay, better, and then the physical, the pleasure of just being fit, okay, that right there with the serotonin, the dopamine levels, and all the other stuff that's being stabilized is better for you to actually encapsulate that disorder and just move on. So I commend you for everything you're doing. We're going to look at your podcast in the future to see what you're doing and how you're helping everybody. So you got to the point that you've actually got to that top of the mountain, and now you're on that down tread, and you bring a couple people with you, okay? You're helping other people. And medical always, we always say that, the foundation that we develop is strictly for helping. Our mental health practice is strictly for helping. So by helping people, it actually helps you. Okay, and you teaching people, okay, how to deal with their disorders, okay, educating them, that's prime, and that will get you through everything that you are going to be, accomplishing in the future. So again, I commend you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So does anybody else have any comments or want to say, have anything to say, ask Cristina, or comments to add in? If not, I still have some more to say. So I can fill it up. So I do have, anybody else, you can feel free to unmute yourself and chime on in. One thing that I truly like that you said that is something to practice, and it's not only with bipolar, but you've said that you've been through trauma, and so there's multiple things for you with what I'm about to say that you would have to do, is that you said that your bipolar isn't all of you, it's a part of you, and you were able to see that it wasn't just I am bipolar. You were saying I have bipolar, and this is something that you were able to just say, like, it's a part of me, it's not all of me. And that's the same thing with trauma that you've been through, the family issues that you've been through. There's a lot of different of these things that you have been through that you could have said, this is me. And that's something that is hard to do for a lot of people if they do not say, like, I am bipolar, I am my trauma, I am my traumatic event that I went through, I am my family dysfunction. Then they don't know who they are outside of that. And so for you to be able to say, like, it's a part of me, but it's not me, it's not the complete of who I am, is extremely powerful. And it's extremely powerful that you're able to then relay this to other people and be able to reach that to other people.
It was somewhat easier for me in a sense, I think, because I felt I always came from a place of like I was rejected before I was diagnosed. So me making that a separate part of me and coming in and just, accepting that no one cares about me because no one did, no one, the judgments, were flying past me regardless of what I said I was or what my diagnosis was, that I think it was easier for me to own it. But something that I learned recently was, instead of saying that I'm struggling with bipolar disorder, I say that I'm challenged, because it makes it like I'm, fighting a winning battle. Like I have a challenge. Okay, a lot of people have challenges that they overcome. That's great. But if I constantly say I'm struggling, then that's me messing with my mindset and me looking for the negative outcome of it.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, something that was also like a big deal.
So your words, you're saying, is how you even view it, how you even speak of it is going to impact the way that you are going to participate with your disorder, the way that you're going to live your life, even the way that you're speaking is going to make a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be very careful with the words you speak to yourself.
100%.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, in order to get out of the funk they're experiencing, and sometimes, the low self-esteem and so forth, I say, you know what? Start lying to yourself. If you don't feel it, okay, just own it. Okay, look in that mirror. I don't care how you look.
Hey, you tell me that
okay?
too. He'll just tell us
Okay, look at yourself and appreciate yourself. Okay, there's only one you. All right. Okay, you're handsome, you're beautiful, whatever have you. Okay, you got to have that confidence. It's hard to do sometimes when people are putting you down. Okay, you feel like the world is against you. But if you can change that mindset, and I love your title, the Gambino mindset, because that's what it is. Okay, a lot of people think that it's a magic trick. Therapy is a magic trick and so forth. No, we're just trying to change your mindset. Okay, we are talking to you in order for you to understand that that's what it is. Okay, yes, you may have some, chemical instability, going on there in your psyche, but that's what the medication is for. We're here just to allow you to express yourself, to understand that You have to make that change yourself. I can't do it for you. You're doing it, Christina, okay? And now you're showing everybody else how to do it. And that's what we need to do, okay? Outside of the therapy, outside of the psychiatry services, we need people like you, okay, to go out there, to be proactive, to show people, hey, listen, it's not the end all of the disorder, okay? You have a choice in the matter. You can either give up or you can fight, okay? And that's why I like your title, is that you're winning the fight, okay? You're willing to fight, okay? Not too many people are getting up to that point that they're willing to fight. Some people can't get out of bed, okay? Some people can't get out that manic mode sometimes, okay? So and they give up, okay? So hopefully that you can reach as many people as possible as we do. We're gonna be close knit with you, okay? We're gonna be doing many things hopefully in the future with everybody else here. I have to give a shout out to my cousin Katrina down there. I see you down there, gal. Okay, how you doing? Okay, Katrina is one of my cousins from Philadelphia. She wanted to chime in today. Okay, Katrina, do you have anything to say? Do you want to say to the group or to Miss Christina? Katrina?
Yeah, I just think what you guys are doing is great. And Christina, your story and your fight is just so it's very what's the word I'm looking for?
Inspirational.
What'd you say?
Inspirational.
Inspirational, yeah. It is. It really is.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Katrina. We
Welcome.
appreciate you. We love you. Tell everybody we said hi.
I see that you're with us visually now, Rachel. Nice to see you. Do you have anything that you wanted to say now? I'm glad that you didn't talk when you were driving.
Yeah, Ms. Rachel, you want to make a couple words for us tonight?
No, I just really appreciate, kind of the community you guys are building and really being supportive and giving a platform for Christina to share. And I thank you for being, open and honest and sharing that and giving hope for somebody else. So it was really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Well, last week, y'all, we talked about overcoming and what was that title last week? Resiliency. And it kind of drafted into what we talked about today with Christina.
I mean, I don't know what else it could be but resilient.
Listen, you're the most resilient one so far that we've had in our group meetings. I ain't gonna say that.
You can't say that. You're just resilient.
You're resilient, like the other people that we had, because they are resilient. But we really do appreciate everybody coming and discussing this. Okay, several disorders. Okay, that people are diagnosed with. They really don't know what this is. And when I started with Christina today, is talking about educating yourself. Okay, one of the things that we tell people not to do, Christina, is be that Google doctor. Okay, but now since Google has caught up with present society as far as presenting different diagnoses, educating people, and giving all that material is a good thing to do it. But when people do that, I also tell them to take that information to a professional, sit down, and discuss what's going on, discuss your disorder. Okay, I want everybody to understand, do not diagnose yourself. Okay, let a professional diagnose yourself, and then you go from there. Medication is needed sometimes. Okay, I wouldn't say most of the time, but medication is needed. A lot of people are against medication. I'm not exactly pro-med, but it is needed sometimes. But I always believe in alternative ways to dealing with your mental health. Okay, and that's exercising, there's journaling, just like Christina said. Okay, talking to people, having a self-help group, and so forth.
And and just like Christina was doing, finding things that actually work for you.
Yes.
So anybody could say we could spew out a bunch of things that could work. We could say do some self-care and give you a whole slew of things, but not everything is going to work. So if you find some things that don't work, like Christina, you went out and did some things that found some things that worked for you and that resonated with you. And so that's an amazing thing that you did for yourself. And so hopefully the people that you touch and that you find will be able to do the same thing. And that's something that we want to put the message out too, is that, do some advocating for yourself as well. Don't only rely on the professionals that are around you. Bring it to their attention if you find something and say, hey, what do you think about this? But also be able to advocate for yourself and do some research for yourself, just like Cristina did, to find some alternative things that may not have been suggested to you. So before we wrap it up, do you have anything else that you want to add in, Cristina?
No, I think you touched on everything. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So you can
Thank
also,
you.
again, you can find Cristina at the Gambino Mindset on Facebook and Instagram. That you can find all the multiple things that she's doing on there. So thank you for having us.
Cristina,
And
do you have an email or a website that people can catch you along with the social media?
My email is just the Gambino Mindset at Gmail.
Okay.
I'm currently working on my website, and that should be up on Wednesday. But like I said, you can always catch me on my podcast too, which is the Gambino Mindset, and that always has all my links.
All right, great. All right, folks. Thank you for everybody. We are going to turn it over to our board secretary, Michaela. Hey, Michaela, how you doing?
Hey guys, I am so sorry I was late, and if I interrupted you, Cristina. From what I heard, amazing. And I looked at all of your socials before earlier today. I love your content. I love what you stand for. I really love what you said about gratitude. Personally, for me, that's what really helped me get out of a major depression. So I love that. But yeah, so those are my 2 cents. But anyway, please join us August 3rd at 7:30 in 2 weeks from now. So we hope to see you there.
Bye,
All right, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all for showing up. Okay.